Well, thank you for tuning in to this webinar for the newly listed Caspin Resources stock code CPN. If you would like to submit a question, you can do this in writing using the Q&A tab on the bottom of the screen. I'd now like to introduce Caspin Resources CEO, Mr. Greg Miles, who is on the screen, who will provide you with an overview and plans for the two West Australian assets held by the company, namely the Yarawindah Brook Project and Mount Squires Project. Greg, over to you.
Thanks, David, and welcome to everybody joining us for today's webinar. This will be a reasonably brief presentation, but hopefully give you a bit of a flavour for Caspin Resources, the company, and our projects. Usual disclaimers. So Caspin Resources listed this week on Wednesday, very successful IPO. I think we're in a fairly unique position. There's a few sort of points of difference with our company. We've got two very exciting early stage exploration projects that we'll go into in a little bit more detail shortly. Well funded, but we've also got a reasonably interesting share registry and a pretty capable board and management to back it up, which we'll go into in some more detail. So just a quick overview of assets for those that aren't familiar. Great time to be exploring in Western Australia. During this pandemic year, we have seen a real flight back to home soil, and thankfully Caspin has two projects effectively in our own backyard. So I guess the projects that most people, well, the project that's at the forefront of most people's mind is the Yarawindah Brook Project. It's just north of Perth. Very prospective, or newly prospective nickel, copper and PGE frontier, and Mount Squires Gold Project out in the West Musgrave region, which is again an early stage gold project that really could be opening up a new frontier for gold exploration, as well as having nickel and copper prospectivity as well. We do actually talk about a third asset, and that is our $20 million contingent cash payment from Oz Minerals. This is part of the demerger scheme arrangement and demerger scheme with the Oz Minerals takeover of Cassini. And that's a potential payment that may come to Caspin in the event of a future transaction on that West Musgrave project. And we'll talk about that as well. So there's just a corporate overview, relatively sharp, tight cap structure, 60 million shares on issue. I guess in terms of the substantial shareholders, Chalice Gold Mine stands out there. We're rapt to have Chalice join us on the share registry. As everybody knows, Chalice has had a fantastic year with their Julimar discovery. They've gone from strength to strength this year. I think the fact that they've joined us on the registry is an endorsement of what we're doing at Yarawindah. So I think it provides us with confidence that we've got that sort of endorsement. And I guess the other party there is Tinci Materials Limited. They're a Shanghai listed Chinese company. They've come over from the Cassini days. They're a very large chemical company in China. They're looking for battery precursor chemicals, so nickel and copper. So we're rapt to be able to continue that relationship that we forged a couple of years ago through Cassini. And board and management have got a reasonable amount of skin in the game as well. So just going into the board in a little bit more detail, Cliff Lawrenson is a very well-credentialed chairman, well known around town, usually in the mid-tier or larger sort of sector. So he's got a lot of capability and a lot of experience for a company of our size. I'm a geologist, been in the exploration game for 25 years now, mostly in Western Australia, gold, base metals, iron ore. have got sort of multi-commodity sort of experience. John Aronsky, Order of Australia, if you don't mind, very well credentialed mining guy, well known in the industry, very good at conceptual targeting and early stage project generation. Justin Tremaine has been there and done that in the junior space. Just recently went through his own takeover with Exor. And Simone Suan rounds out the board, who's also had experience in mining in Western Australia, but also provides a link into Singaporean and Asian investment markets. So just now turning to our projects. So firstly, Yarawindah Brook project. As I mentioned, it's just north of Perth, 160 k's north of Perth, and in the same belt of rocks that Chalice Gold have made their Julimar discovery. So a lot of attention on this part of the world now. It's traditionally been more a focus of bauxite mining exploration, not really seen as a nickel copper PGE frontier, but that has certainly changed this year. Julimar is stacking up to be one of the finds of 2020. So we were attracted to the project because it had a lot of similarities to what at Cassini we were doing out in the West Musgrave project. So similar sort of rocks, similar sort of mineralisation style. And it was a province or a project that we could apply some of our learnings from the West Musgrave project into Yarawindah and hopefully have some success. So it's fair to say that in fact, we'll skip that slide and go to this slide. This is just a bit, for those that aren't familiar with what's been going on in this belt. The slide on the left is January, that's our position, and Chalice Gold's position prior to Julimar, and then post Julimar, there's been a rush of companies into this belt, as you would expect. It's for those that remember the Nova discovery by Sirius. This is it's a similar sort of land grab, similar to what happened in the Fraser Range back in 2013. But the good news for our shareholders is that, as you can see, we're largely unaffected by that pegging rush. We secured the ground that we thought was prospective and have been largely unaffected. And I guess the good thing for us now is that now that we're listed, we're able to really unleash the potential in this project. So we've got quite an extensive exploration campaign coming up. Why are we excited? Because there's already hints of mineralisation in the project area. You can see some of the drilling results from our work earlier this year. It's encouraging signs. It's obviously not the ore body yet, but we know that we're in the right address. So lots of encouragement, not just potential high grades, but very large, thick mineralised system. So that's encouraging, and we're seeing mineralisation in lots of different areas. So that's good, but at the moment we've only explored just a very tiny portion of that project. And I guess as I was alluding to before, now we've got the opportunity to step back from where the past exploration is, look at the whole project with a new set of eyes and collect new data, which is really the interesting part of the exercise. So this will be as technical as it gets, but just to give you a bit of a hint about our targeting, that's a magnetic image on the left, a gravity image on the right. Two important geophysical data sets for mapping orthomagmatic, mafic and ultramafic intrusive systems. So we're using this is public available data. We're using this sort of data to hone in on where we want to explore, and then we can fly our own surveys, which I'll get to in a minute, to reduce the scale of our focus. And I guess just to ram home the message, all the exploration we've done at the moment has just been at the Yarrabrook Hill, Avina, Ovis and Brassica prospects, which are, as I said, a very small part of the total project area. So now it's, as I mentioned, it's about collecting new data. So there's a couple of different techniques for doing that. Airborne EM is probably the first pass tool of choice. It relies on inducing a magnetic, a conductive response in the earth, which is fantastic for identifying massive sulfide style of mineralisation. But it's important to note that it's not the be all and end all of exploration. It's because some of this style of mineralisation doesn't conduct, and therefore we use old-fashioned principles, soil geochemistry, boots on the ground mapping, and prospecting, and we combine all those sort of tools together, and it gives us a very powerful first pass exploration tool. And that's really the stage of exploration that we're at the moment. So just turning to that, the figure on the right just shows where the exploration has been in the past, and the hatched area shows the airborne EM survey that we're currently flying, just about to wrap up. And then we'll get that data. We're also at the same time getting on the ground, commencing our soil exploration work, soil sampling, that is, and we'll get that data in the next couple of months, and I'm sure that will almost certainly generate some drill targets, and then we can bring the drill targets in, drill rigs in, and test those targets. And I guess, as everyone would sort of recognise in that photo on the bottom left sort of alludes to, we are working in agricultural land, so the best time to be exploring out there is through the summer season, once crops are off and we can move freely through paddocks without any sort of obstacles. So this really is the field season for our Yarawindah Brook project, and we've got a pretty extensive field program coming up. So now just turning to our other project, Mount Squires, a new gold province out in the West Musgrave region. This is probably the only real holding that isn't now part of Oz Minerals. We were attracted because of some past exploration that identified some gold anomalies. Cassini was able to do a drill program October last year that confirmed some of that gold mineralisation there. That's at the Hand Pump prospect. So really significant mineralisation just beneath the surface. So that's really encouraging. But it's a challenging environment to operate in. There's extensive sand cover, and what we've found is that prospect, Hand Pump, at the moment sits on a 50-kilometre structural trend, and the reason that we think that's been found so far is simply because it was opportunistically comes to surface through the sand cover, but there's good potential that entire strike could be mineralised. So it's early days, but we've got exploration programs lined up for that that I think will probably extend beyond just that immediate focus of the Hand Pump prospect. And let's not forget that it's we're alongside one of Australia's largest nickel copper development stories, and so we're open-minded about nickel and copper exploration as well. I'll touch on that again. So just to diving in a little bit deeper onto some of that past exploration, as I mentioned, the mineralisation that we've discovered today is quite shallow. It's a little bit different style to what most people are familiar with in the Archean greenfields of Western Australia. Probably more of an intrusive related gold system. We've got the only real drilling is at the Hand Pump prospect. There is some soil sampling that's been done in the past that's identified an interesting sort of pathfinder anomaly that we call a centrifugal prospect. That'll be probably the early target for us when we get out there. But the whole system is wide open. So we don't want to be too narrow in our focus. We want to employ large-scale reconnaissance-style exploration programs across the whole project. So that work, it's not ideal to be working out there over the summer period, so it works out quite well with our Yarawindah project. We'll probably open up a new work front at Mount Squires probably early Q2 in 2021, and so that we'll really be have a lot on our plate by then, with well and truly into Yarawindah Brook, and then also opening up our Mount Squires Gold Project as well. And as I mentioned, we are on the doorstep of a large nickel copper deposits. We do know that the same intrusive host rocks extend into our project area. The One Tree Hill prospect, which I was involved in, is only 200 metres from the tenement boundary on the Oz Mineral side. So, look, we think there's a great longer-term strategic opportunity here with Mount Squires as well. And so, while we're doing our exploration, we are going to be very open-minded about nickel and copper targets as they come up. Oh, and of course, the third asset, as we sometimes refer to it, it's almost something that we're sort of keeping in the bottom drawer for a rainy day. But part of the consideration to Cassini shareholders was in the event of any further transaction on the West Musgrave project by Oz Minerals, then there's a pathway to realising some of that value into Caspin. I won't dwell on the details of that now. There's plenty of detail in our prospectus, which you can read at your leisure. But that's something that probably should be just factored into as well. So keep an eye on what's going on at the West Musgrave project with Oz Minerals. So David, that's pretty much Caspin in a nutshell. I think it's been a big week, and it's going to be an exciting few months.
Greg, thanks for your presentation. We do have a few questions that have come in, which I will put to you. But one from me, you saw a very strong demand into your IPO, and then a strong aftermarket. Where did the demand come from? What drove the demand for the IPO and then aftermarket?
I think it's a reflection on the quality of all these things come together to sort of align, if you like. We've got great projects. We've got a really capable board, and we have gone to a lot of effort. The guys at Ashanti Capital have done a great job of putting together a really strong share registry as well that sort of gives the company the best chance of success. So, there's some strategic shareholders in there who see the opportunity. I guess, Chalice are obviously one of them, but there's plenty of others that don't breach that significant shareholder threshold. And I think they really realise, there's a slight point of difference to this IPO. So, now that's done. Now the hard work really starts though.
Correct. And in terms of Yarawindah, what's land access like, and when needed, what's drill access or availability going to look like?
Yeah, so we've been working hard on building relationships with the local landowners. We've been able to get on the ground so far to test all the targets that we've wanted to. We're expanding that footprint now. It's just a way that we just progressively work through our priorities at the project. But I think that we've got a good relationship with the landowners at Yarawindah, where it's a busy time of year. Harvest is coming off. We're trying to stay out of their hair as much as we can. But as soon as those crops come off, then we'll be in the paddocks and doing all that soil sampling, drilling, and what have you. We do have capability of getting in there during the cropping season, but our preference first up is to sort of work around the local landowners and work towards a common goal.
And I do have a very technical question here. Are you able to comment on the possible age of mineralisation at both prospects?
Both project areas, you mean?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. So Yarawindah is sort of an Archean age. So like the rest of the Yilgarn, the Mount Squires Proterozoic. So look, it's old, without getting into too much technical detail. So Yarawindah, same as the rest of the goldfields, Mount Squires, same age rocks as all the Proterozoic West Musgrave Belt, but in terms of the age of that actual mineralisation of Mount Squires, like we haven't gone into that level of detail.
Greg, as you say, it's been a big week for Caspin. Exciting times for all shareholders. A busy period ahead, well-planned busy period ahead, and a team to get it done. Greg, thanks for your time.
Thank you, and thanks for everybody for listening.